Okay, so imagine this, right? Like
Yeah.
everything we depend on, our food, our medicine,
Yeah.
even just the fertilizers that help grow our crops,
Right.
suddenly gone. Just not available.
Yeah,
Kind of scary to think about.
definitely.
But that's exactly the scenario that this Project Tumbu wants us to
Right.
kind of face head on.
Right.
And I think it's going to be a really fascinating deep dive into
Okay.
how we might have to adapt and survive
Yeah.
in a world where global trade as we know it,
It's just
doesn't exist.
I mean, I think it forces us to rethink, our dependence on these really intricate global networks that
Yeah.
we've built up. We don't often realize just how vulnerable we are
Right.
to even just like minor disruptions, whether it's a,
Right.
natural disaster, political conflict. I mean, even
A cyber.
a major cyber attack like the one Project Tumbu uses as its starting point.
Yeah, it definitely makes you realize how fragile our systems truly are.
Absolutely.
So how does Project Tumbu envision communities responding to this kind of thing?
That's a great question. It's really interesting. It actually draws inspiration from a time before globalization and globalized trade. It looks back at traditional knowledge and craft
Good.
as potential models for self-sufficiency.
Mhm.
Communities used to be much more adept at utilizing local resources,
Yeah.
skills to meet their own needs. And Project Tumbu kind of wants to reimagine these practices, but for a modern context.
So it's not just about like going back to the Stone Age.
Yeah.
It's about finding ways to adapt
Exactly.
age-old wisdom to today's challenges.
Exactly.
Can you give me a concrete example of what this looks like in Project Tumbu?
Sure. So the centerpiece of the project is this decentralized chemical production unit.
Okay.
And it's designed to manufacture essential things like fertilizers and medicines using just locally sourced materials.
Okay.
And the designer, Alif Rahman, really goes deep into the science behind this,
Okay.
researching and optimizing chemical processes to make them as efficient and sustainable as possible.
I'm really intrigued by these optimized chemical processes.
Yeah.
It sounds like Alif Rahman is bringing together cutting-edge science with traditional practices.
Yeah.
Can you give me an example of how this might actually work?
Absolutely. So one of the innovations that Alif Rahman proposes is a method for extracting nitrogen from the air
Okay.
to create fertilizer. And this is a process that, typically requires like large-scale industrial production.
Right.
But they've actually found ways to kind of make it achievable at a community level,
Wow.
which is super interesting, reducing dependence on those external suppliers.
That's incredible. It seems like a huge undertaking
It is
to design something like this.
Right.
What can you tell me about Alif Rahman's process and how they approach this challenge?
You can tell that they've done their homework.
Yeah.
They not only delve deep into like the chemistry involved,
Uh-huh.
but they also built these complex system models to simulate